The recording says it's blinking.
Okay.
Yeah. Full screen on it, Jerry.
Full screen.
Where all right. Okay. Okay, so darn folks. So welcome to our January meeting, which is almost February. And tonight we have a presentation about the DX Marathon. It's going to mark WC3W is going to talk to us about. And he's been a ham radio operator since he was 12 years old and been around and done a lot of stuff. I guess you lived in Florida or Colorado for quite some time and now in Florida. What else? I guess what we'll do is just get straight into the presentation unless there's other business we want to hit first.
I think just
It's late for Mark, so let's let him get going.
I can do that. Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you good.
On the Zoom and in the meeting?
Now, do we need to enable him as a host or?
I have a PowerPoint, so I can share my screen if you will allow me to share. Okay, hold on, let me bring it up. I need to send a request, so somebody has to give me permission to share my screen, whoever is in control. Okay, somebody just did, thank you. Let me see if I can't bring up the presentation.
Go up to speakers.
Stand by. I thought I had it open here. Stand by just a second. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I may have to open it up. Sorry, folks. Let me open it up. I thought it was opened already, but evidently it's not. Let's see. Okay. Open recent. All righty. There we go. Now I just need to share it. Share, there, share. How's that look, guys?
Perfect.
Okay, everybody can hear me and everybody can see what I'm going to present, right?
Yes.
Okay, just out of curiosity, I don't know how many's in the room. I think we've got about 8 or 9 on the Zoom call. How many in the room, and somebody give me a count, has either heard of the DX Marathon or has participated?
Got 17 in the room.
Everybody?
No.
Gary says he has.
I have N6RV.
We have 1 in the room. Is that correct? Okay, how about on the Zoom out of the 8 or so?
N6RV has.
Yeah,
Okay,
W6ACU has.
okay, great. So we got 3 or 4, which is kind of typical, which is in a sense my challenge, and I'll go through and explain that. But anyway, thank you all for the opportunity. This is, I think, since I've taken over this program a couple years ago, I think this is PowerPoint presentation number 88 or 89 to clubs, mainly in North America, but I've also done some presentations since our program is Our participants are about 2/3 international and about 1/3 North American. So we are an international program. So this is 88 or 89. And what I'm hearing here is typical. I currently sitting in South Florida. We've had some cool weather down here. We haven't had snow, but I think we had down to about 43 one night. And today, I think with the wind chill, it was about 75. So probably not a whole lot different than San Diego weather. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be able to speak to you tonight and to your club. And I thank you for the invite, Rob and Bud also. I appreciate it very much because through these club presentations, it allows me to reach out to who I consider to be my customers, who are AM radio operators who enjoy working DX. Just a little bit about me. As the intro said, I have just been in this hobby many years. Let's put it that way. Actually, this year it will be 62 years as a ham radio operator, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to do many things. I've flown airplanes for almost 60 years. I've got an instrument and commercial rating. I sail sailboats. I'm a musician, and I play in a couple bands, and I play in my church worship group. And anyway, I've done a lot of things. I ride motorcycles too. I've done 8 trips in the Alps, riding BMWs. So I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life, but one thing I can say for certain, a lot of these hobbies have come and go, save one, and that's this hobby that I'm talking about tonight. It's been steady with me all the way from the time I was 12 years old, when I became a novice in Peoria, Illinois, where I grew up. And actually, I went to high school and I went to college in Peoria, Illinois. I graduated many years ago in electrical engineering. I got into the hobby. I was sort of seeing this young lady in grade school, and she invited me over to her house. And being in Peoria, there's a good chance that your father or your mother worked for Caterpillar Tractor Company, as her father did. He was a mechanical engineer, actually, but he took me downstairs when I went over to her house the first or second time. He said, "I want to show you something." And he was a ham radio operator, and he went down and flipped some switches on and got on the radios and started working the world. And from that point on, hook, line, and sinker, I was taken in, not only by the hobby, but by chasing DX. And I've been a DX chaser my whole life. And that doesn't go to say I don't operate digital and UHF and VHF. I like all aspects of this hobby. But anyway, that's sort of my upbringing. I retired about 6 years ago. I was an executive vice president for a large corporation, mainly focused in the power generation industry, where I made my whole career, all 40 years plus years, 50 years that I worked. Mainly steam turbine generators, gas turbines, geothermal, and hydro turbines. So anyway, that's enough about me. I'm going to be talking about the DX Marathon program, and I can say without question, it is the fastest growing ham radio DX program in the world today. Now, why can I say that? We're just now in the midst of scoring the 2024 marathon, but in 22, we grew at 46% rate as measured by number of participants. And 2 years ago, 23, we grew at 50%. We don't know yet quite where we are in 2024. I don't expect to maintain this kind of growth. After all, we're in a pretty flat market hobby. There's about 3 million hams throughout the world and about 750,000 in the US. And unfortunately, our hobby is not growing. I can say, and as far as I can tell, in the US, we're holding our own. We're not decreasing. Unlike Japan, for example, 10 years ago, Japan had 1.2 million hams. Today, they have about 350,000. So anyway, and I'm going to try to explain why I believe it has a particular attraction to many people in our hobby today, particularly those that enjoy working DX. Just a brief history. Believe it or not, this program has been around longer than I've been around, and probably many of you been around. It was initially introduced to our hobby back in 1939 by Radio Magazine. Radio Magazine was the precursor of CQ Magazine. And it only came out a year, and it was suspended because of World War II, and it didn't really get back into place until 1948 after the war. But then there was a number of different radio contests and activities that popped up at the same time. And I don't know what happened, whether it didn't have the administrative support, whether CQ Magazine didn't push it or whatever, but it kind of died soon after it came back, and it wasn't resurrected until the year 2005 when a ham by the name of Bob Loker, who's written a couple books, and they're actually still in print about DXing. W9KNI, he lives in the Pacific Northwest now. He approached CQ Magazine and said, "Hey, what do you think of bringing back the DX Marathon program?" And they said, "Tell us what you want to do, Bob." And so Bob put pen to paper, and he reconstituted the rules and presented it back to them. And they said, "Well, let's go with it." So Bob, understanding, being a very intelligent guy, knows that it would take a lot of administration to run the program. So he recruited at that time in 2005, young John Sweeney, K9EL, and who's a good friend of mine. And John ran the program for 17 consecutive years up until 2021. And I was a player. I had met John through a mutual friend of mine down here in South Florida. I met him at Dayton. I met him at Visalia. I met him at Orlando, and I got to know him. I really liked him. He was a super, super nice guy, and he's one of the best DXers around. I heard that he was retiring, and that was a couple years after I retired. And I picked up the phone and called him, and I said, "John, what are you doing? I love this program." He says, "Mark, I'm burnt out, and I'm building a house in Florida, and I want to really retire." So anyway, to make a long story short, I was kind of looking for something to do after my retirement, and I spent about 10 minutes on the phone with him, and it became very apparent to me. And I told him, I said, "John, I had a pretty high stress job in my professional career. And I said, I'm trying to bring serenity into my retirement." And I said, "This ain't serenity. This sounds like a full-time job." He said, "Yeah, it is, Mark." So we kind of ended the conversation, and I got to thinking about a few things because I love the program. And, I built some companies when I was in business, and as part of my job responsibility, built and acquired companies. And I know you do things through people. And so I called John back. He says, "John, what do you think of the idea if we put a group together and do the tasks and responsibilities that you yourself was doing and just deploy it among a few people?" And he said, "Well, I think it could be done." John was a VP too, a pretty high level fella. And so we sat down, and he helped me write some job descriptions and helped me recruit. And again, to make a long story short, I kind of reformulated the whole program. We went out and recruited some people to be on our board of directors. They're still on our board. I'm no dummy either. I kept Bob Loker, who rejuvenated the program in 2005, and John on the board. And then after we did all the paperwork stuff in forming the business, or not the business, but the organization, we went into the recruiting. And I've got 4 of the most powerful, talented people on my staff that now administer the program, and we do all the work that John was doing. We divided up into about 5 different parts. And yes, I'm part of the scoring team too. We have We have a scoring manager, Larry Lone, who's out in Phoenix, and we have an IT manager and a communications manager. So bottom line here is I've got an organizational staff that's built for growth, and we've streamlined. We've done, I'm not going to bore you with all the stuff we've done. We've really upgraded the whole program and all the tools, the scoring tool and the web page and everything. So we're positioned for significant growth now. That's the history. So let me get into describing at the third, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail tonight, but let's just talk about what the program is about. Okay. It's an annual program to work DX. The clock starts on January 1st and it ends on December 31st. And in between those two dates, you don't do anything that a lot of you are doing right now. You just work DX and you log it in your logging program, or we have people in our program that still do paper logs. That's okay too. It's a little bit easier when you're doing it in a logging program. And you just work DX. And at the end of the year, each entity, each DXCC entity, of which there's 340, right, including all potential activations, we add 6 entities to that we call the Worked All Europe entities, and I'll explain that on the next slide, to come up with 346 entities and 40 CQ zones. Each one of those that you work and each one of the zones that you work is worth 1 point. There's no multipliers in the program. It's not like a contest where you got complex multipliers and all that stuff. It's just 1 point for every DXCC entity, 1 point for every zone. We do not require confirmations. You don't need QSL cards. You don't need LOTW. You don't need club log. It's an honesty program. Okay, and I'll get into a little bit of that later. We're trying to make this simple, very simple for anybody to play. Not only simple, but we're trying to make it fun, okay? And that's why we do what we do. It's an excellent reason to get on the air. As I mentioned, I participated for 6 or 7 years before I took over this position. I just love to do a comparison of how I was doing 1 year versus the next, versus the next, versus the next. I once worked for a guy that says, you know, Mark, if you can't measure something, it's not worth doing. Well, I kind of personally, I don't, everybody doesn't feel this way. And a lot of people that are in our program really, they shy away from contesting and competition. They say, I don't need that. Well, a lot of people in our program just want a metric to keep track of how they're doing, a personal metric to see how they're doing from year to year. And that's what this program can do. Now, on the flip side, if you are of the competitive type, we have a lot of those guys. You can, it's very competitive, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So it's pretty much for whatever you want to make it, which makes it very, very attractive. There's no complicated rules. I'm not going to go through the rules tonight. I'll touch on a few of them, but I would encourage you to go to the webpage, which is www.dxmarathon.com. There's more information there than you probably care to read, but it's a lot. We've really upgraded that website. And as I said, it's a year-long global event. Bringing serenity. I love contesting. I'm a very competitive person. I used to do it all the time, but you know, there's more to life. I got 3 grandchildren now. You know, I'm smelling the roses a little bit. I'm trying to back away a little bit from some of the contests. You know, bringing serenity in my life isn't sitting at this station that's in front of me here for 48 consecutive hours and working DX, okay, or working stations. That doesn't do serenity for me these days. It used to, but I don't need that right now, but that's okay. I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying it's not where I am in my life right now. Okay, let's move on. Okay, how does it work? Participation is easy. There's no sign up. If you decide December 1st of this year that you want to enter a score into the DX Marathon, you can do that. You don't have to sign up. You just need your logs. You need to know what you worked. But even if you have paper logs, that's all you need. And you're in the program. No sign up, no fee. Okay. At the end of the year, you generate that ADIF file and you upload it into our website and you're finished. We do the rest for you. I mentioned the 6 entities besides the 340. Those are your 6 entities. Most of you DXers have heard of it. IG9, IH9, which is Italian Africa. It's a couple little islands south of Italy, north of Africa. The Shetland Islands, Sicily, European Turkey. You know, there's a TA1 and there's a TA2 through TA9. TA2 through TA9 is European Turkey. TA1 around Istanbul is European Turkey. It's only a small segment. Of course, ITU in Vienna and then Bear Island. So we add these 6 to the 340 to make our 346. And then, of course, we have the 40 CQ zones. Okay, so that's part of how it works. Okay, why participate? For many of us out there, it's the reason we got into ham radio. It's DXing. It challenges us every year to work the world. Again, I mentioned no multipliers, no formulas. It provides a little bit of extra incentive to remain active, and it's ideal for clubs. And I've talked to 88 plus or minus clubs in the last year. You know, there's a lot of clubs that aren't doing real well right now, and there's a lot of clubs that are doing quite well. And what I've noticed, just an observation, is the clubs that are doing really well are those whose leaders are engaging their members in doing things. And what this marathon does, you can do it internal to your club. You can set up at the beginning of the year a couple little teams, or you can come to your monthly meetings and you can have a DX marathon report and have everybody send in how many new entities did you work this year. It just engages your membership, and you know what? It's a lot of fun. You can set up a little competition at your annual event or your Christmas party. You can make some awards based on how your individual teams. It's just another tool that leadership can use in engaging your membership. Okay, real quick from the 30,000 foot level, any authorized ham radio frequency, we include all the work bands. So anything from 6 meters to 160 is included in the marathon. Cannot make contacts through repeaters or satellites. You cannot make contacts through maritime mobile or aeronautical mobile. I'll explain that in a minute. And all contacts must be made through amateur radio frequencies, no contacts through Echolink or DMR. Very simple, okay? What we try to do, again, from the 30,000 foot level, is whether you're doing this for competition or whether you're doing this just to evaluate how you're doing from year to year, we try to create level playing fields. So these next 2 slides, I would like to ask you to take particular attention to, because if you can't slot yourself into one of these categories on this slide or the next slide, I want you to tell me when I'm done during Q&A why you can't. Now, if you say you don't like working DX, I could understand you. But if you do work DX, I would like you to explain why you aren't in one of these categories. Okay, so the first thing we do, we've established tranches to try to create level playing fields among the participants. So we've got the big guns. You know, I've got a remote station down here in Florida. Mainly, I've had the financial ability to build a big station, but I live in an area where we have HOAs, which is all over, it proliferates all over Florida. So there's no way I can put a tower in my community. So I bought a piece of land 30 miles north of us in Yeehaw Junction, Florida. It's an acre and a quarter, and I got my station. So I operate my station remotely, and I got a lot of equipment out there. So we call this the unlimited class. There's no restrictions on antenna height. There's no restrictions on antenna configuration. You can run the full legal limit. It's like balls out. You do whatever you want. That's the unlimited. Now we step down. The limited is somebody that is not using a linear amplifier. They're running 100 watts, but they can use an array antenna. You can use a Yagi with certain limitations, okay? Now we step down another we call the formula class, which I believe is probably 3/4 of hams in the world. You're basically running 100 watts and you got a dipole or you got a vertical antenna, no gain antennas. That, by the way, I think that's in the bell-shaped curve, the 2 sigma. Most ham radio operators are in that. And if you look at the actual absolute numbers, and I'm really pushing my program to get into this area, and we grew that area in participation last year by 400% because there's more hams in that area. And with a little help of Cycle 25 and a little help from FT8, hams that have 100-watt stations and have wire or vertical antennas can really have some fun working DX, just like the big guns do. And what's wrong with that? Some people will poo-poo FT8. You know, I was in the age, I've been a ham long enough when people were poo-pooing when we went from AM to sideband. Okay, I represent that ham radio is innovation. As long as we're ham radio operators, we're always going to have innovation. FT8 is just another innovation. There'll be something to follow, of course. But I like the fact that it gives people in apartments that want to put an antenna up in their attic, run an FT8, an opportunity to work DX. What's wrong with that? So I really like that. Now we get down to an area that I simply don't understand, but you know what? It's a growing area. QRPing, running 5 watts. There's a lot of QRPers out there. There's a national organization that just stepped up and they're going to sponsor a plaque. In 2025, I rewrote the rules. I've got 2 divisions of QRP right now. I've got some antenna restrictions and then I've got unlimited, both running 5 watts, but I can't figure them out, but God bless them. You know, I mean, some people like running QRP. It is a challenge for sure. I have problems with my mega station and pileups just working some DX, some, you know, QRV, some activations. I just can't imagine doing it with 5 watts. Okay, that was the first slide. Now the second slide, again, I want you to slot yourself in there. What do you like to do when you operate? Now for me, let me give you my example. I like everything, as you might expect. I like all modes. My preferred mode is CW. I love CW. If that's all I could work, that's what I would work. And then FT8 and sideband is probably third, okay? But every year when I've entered, I've taken myself out now, of course, but every year when I entered, I did all bands and all modes because that's just the way I'm built. I like to do everything, all right? But I have a friend that I referred to earlier. He's just turned 90 years old. He's a good friend of John's. He introduced me to K9EL. He doesn't like FT8. He's a CW operator. And in 2019, he entered our program in CW only. You can enter in a mode only. And damned if he didn't win #1 in the world in CW. He had the highest number of country entities and zones worked. So if you like a single mode, if you like FT8 only, you can enter this in FT8 only. We have a guy down in South Florida, W4HY. He loves sideband. Every year he enters this in sideband only. You can do that as well. If you like a certain band, we have some people that enter every year in 160 meters. That's it. We have some people that enter in 6 meters only. If you want to do that, you have the ability to do that. Okay, so you've got mode preferences. And by the way, you don't have to declare this till the end of the year before your submission. And you don't have to do the same from year to year. We have one fella I know in particular right now. He's doing like a band hop. 1 year he'll enter in 10 meter only. Then he'll go to 15. Then he'll go to 17. Then he'll go to 20. You can do that if you want to, and just see how you do against your peers throughout the world who are doing likewise. See, you can have fun with this program. You can have a lot of fun. Okay, and I mentioned leagues already. Okay, simple rules. I'm just going to pick out a couple things on. I got to mind my time here, but one restriction that a lot of people don't understand in the program. You can only enter a score from a single TXRX station location, one QTH. Now, I had a place in Colorado for about 10 years, and I had an HF station out there, and I have one in Florida. I cannot, or I could not, take the two logs and commingle them and turn in one score. Cannot do that. I could enter out there, I could enter in Florida, but I can't commingle them. So that's one of the key rules. Now, if you use your station as a contest station and it's the same station, even if you have multiple operators, that's okay. You can do that as long as it's the same station. I mentioned contests. If you're a contester, any entity, new entity that you work in a contest, that qualifies for a marathon point, no problem. Or any other contest or any other activity that you work from that one station, that's legal. You can double book them, if you will. You can claim them for our program. You can claim them from the program that you're operating on. Okay. And I mentioned the website. Please make a notation of that. You're recording this, so, and you have, but you have my permission to show this, to post it on your website. My greatest, I'll say it now, my greatest challenge, as I said earlier, though, is making people aware of this program. I just built a new house that I'm living in right now. Last house, number 13. I'll never build and never live in another house the rest of my life. That's what I said the last two homes too. But I joined the Port St. Lucie Ham Radio Club, and they asked me to come in and do a presentation on the marathon. Had, I think, about 35 people there that night. I asked them the same question that I asked you tonight. How many people have heard of the DX Marathon program? 3 hands went up. That's my problem. I need to reach out and touch people. So use this however you wish. You have my permission. Okay, that's the website. I'm not going to spend any time on that. This is the submittal. I'm just going to give you a flash of this. Okay, remember what I said? You take your log anytime during the year, but really the official entry, the final entry is for this year is January 1st through January 5th, 2026. Okay, so it's the first week in January, but you take your log, you generate your ADIF, and see where that button says load ADIF. You punch that button, it'll say, where did you put that ADIF in your computer? And you point to it and you hit the button and you just made a submission. That's it. Very simple. You don't have to calculate, you have to do multiplier. That's it. Even if you load your whole log in, our submission will sort out only the 2025 Qs. No problem. Okay, very simple. This happens to be mine. I did in 23, but you get a report. It's a beautiful report. This, if you can imagine a spreadsheet that's 346 deep, it'll actually show you all the entities that you worked, those that you need, because you kind of keep track of. Once you get into the program, you're always looking for new DX because you want to work a new DX station. Okay, all the entities and all the zones. This was generated, I forget what date this was, but I think it was the first month of January. I had 40 zones worked, I think, in the first. I operate every day, so I mean, I'm a very active DXer. Okay, all right. How do we get by with saying no verifications? We basically run a program where we believe that the operator is honest. Okay, if you say you work somebody, we believe you. However, we also recognize that to encourage our growth and to encourage our participation, we've got to make sure that everybody stays honest. So we do some checking of logs. We have various sources. We have club log. I will get ADIF files from the expeditions, the expeditions. They'll send them to me. We'll load them in our computers, and if you say you work somebody, we'll match. It's all computerized. Okay, so we do some. It's not 100%, but we do verification checking. And the other reason we do that, quite frankly, is DXing is just. We believe DXing. If you call yourself a DXer, it's not just working a station and putting it in your log. It's understanding, did you really work that station or was that a pirate? Okay. Where is that station located? Do you have the right CQ zone? You know, if you go to QRZ, many stations don't even know what CQ zone they're in because that's manually put into the QRZ database. Okay. So this whole program, we're interested in making everybody better DXers. Okay. If you were in California and you're in 100, this is a real story. You claimed you work 160 on 160 meters, a station in Europe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't think so. I don't think so. We had believe it or not, we had a gentleman that said he did, and we vetted it out. There's a lot of ways you can vet it out. You can go to DX Summit, you can look at spotting, you can go to PSK Reporter, you can go to History Files. Make a long story short, he was working a remote station on the East Coast when he worked that station. So, you know, we do some if you're a DXer, you got to understand propagation. You got to understand what is real, what is not real. So it's more than just getting on the radios, working a DX, and that's it. So anyway, we do that verification, and then we believe heavily in recognition for both those that are in competition and maybe those that are not. For the real competitors, we have these plaques for which we have sponsors, for which we are so grateful that the San Diego DX Association is a sponsor, I'm proud to say. And we thank you so much for that, because without our sponsors, we would not have a program. We're all volunteers to the extent I try to keep my staff from not having to put their own money in. I've done some fundraising, and there is a click PayPal on our website if you want to be so moved to throw in $5 to help offset some of our fixed costs. That's always appreciated. But basically, it doesn't cost you anything. But without our sponsors pay for our plaques and our awards. The certificates I do myself, and we generate about 130 of those and about 30 plaques every year. And all the award categories are on the website. I'm not going to go through those right now. It'd take too long. Okay. And they're beautiful plaques, and they're beautiful certificates that you can frame and hang in your shack. Our sponsors, and you can see here, I put this one in. Thank you, SDTXA, for your sponsorship. And I'm so pleased that you stepped up and you're helping us out. Okay, and individuals can do this too. It's not only clubs. Okay. You know, the sunspot activity from year to year is kind of it creates a level playing field in itself. But as I mentioned earlier, this cycle 25 has been pretty incredulous. I have to update this, but it has far exceeded the predicted models, and it's still going strong. And God, I pray that we get another, 4 or 5 years out of it. I don't know what it's going to be. Nobody does for sure, but it's been really, really sweet. 50% of our queues that we have last year, 2023 and 24, we have out of our participants, we had about 350,000 queues. About 50% last year were in the 10, 12, and 15 meter bands. That's what's called cycle 25. The propagation, if for any of you that are operating, has been fantastic. I got on yesterday morning and I worked, what did I work? I worked a station, an EP2 in Iran, and I turned around and worked a Pakistan station on 10 meters at 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's just incredible. Okay, busy, but I'm just going to point out a couple things here. We post the club scores. We processed 300, this was in 23, about 327,000 queues versus the previous year, 216. That's your 50% growth rate. The maximum score was 307 in 22. Look what it was in 2023, 329. That's cycle 25. Okay, I'm going to show you a chart in a second that will give you a real indication. For every error that you make, if you type a 0 in for an O, or you copy the call wrong, it's easy to do on CW. We don't throw you or we don't DQ you. We just subtract 1 point. That's it. Okay. But I'll tell you what, out of the couple thousand entries we had, there's very few. This just shows you how to be a good DXer, you got to check your logs, you got to check your typos, you got to check your zones, you got to make sure you're not working a pirate. And, there's a lot that goes on in being a holistic DXer, if you will. So our error rate is 2 to 2.5%. That's expected, but there's very few logs that don't have 1 or 2 errors in them as we go through and check them. But anyway, this gives you an idea for the scoring. North America, this is an international program. North America, we're number 1, but South America is really strong, particularly Brazil. And then Oceania is next, and everybody else falls below this. I've got to do something to boost up EU and some of the other regions, which I'm working on right now. This gives you an idea of the people that entered in single mode only. And you can see how the digital, as you might expect. 10 years ago, this curve would have looked a lot different. About 75% of our 350,000 queues are at FT8 digital. Okay. About 13% CW and about the same in sideband. This is the chart I was going to show you. A score of 300. That means you work a combination of country, DXCC countries, and zones, the summation of the two. In 22, we had about 16 whose score was 300 or above. Last year, we had almost 100. That's cycle 25. That's propagation. It's a beautiful thing. If you love DX, now is the time to be in DX because it's not always going to be this way. It's a beautiful thing. Cycle 25 has been amazing. I'm about ready to finish here. I'm big on youth. I've got youth overlays. I've got YL overlays. For 25, not only do I have one youth overlay, what an overlay means, the youth can still participate in the other classes or categories. It's just a special treat. We generate a plaque for the top scoring youth. In 25, I've divided youth into 15 to 25 and 15 and younger because, believe it or not, we have people that play that are less than 15 years old. So I wanted to make that segmentation. I have a YL overlay introduced in 24. I mentioned I didn't think it was fair to have all clubs in one category. So in 24, what I did is I divided the clubs into tranches. Clubs 75 submissions and over is the top. From 74 to 25 is the middle. And from 25 down to just a handful is a third. Each one will get a plaque. Okay, so you can have club competition in your respective sizes. Trying to make a level playing field again is what we tried. We're not going to be perfect. I created a special award. It's kind of like a super marathon where we're taking the last 5 years of cumulative scores and adding them up of all of our frequent participants. And the one that has the highest score will have what we call the super marathon award. And challenge is like this last year was the first year we did this. It's like the DXCC challenge. You actually do a DXCC or you do a DX marathon on each band. So you have 8 bands from 6 to 80 meters, and then you turn in your score. We sum them all up. We had a lot of participation. A lot of our veterans really like this challenge. Okay. I've got a lot of podcasts out there. This is one. I just did one before I was on here. Do you know Josh and Amanda on, it used to be Bob Heil's podcast. I forget the name of it. Not Hamcation. I just did an interview with Amanda and Josh 15 minutes before I got on there. They've got a lot of viewers, but W1DED, I did a podcast with Tim Duffy on his program, did a podcast with me. So I'm just trying to get the word out. That's what I'm trying to do. So anyway, that's it on the presentation. I thank you for being patient, and I went a little bit overboard here, but I'm prepared to answer any questions that you might have at this point.
Thank you, Mark. That was very interesting. Questions from the group here?
Yeah, one question. Have you looked at having like monthly sort of things within the club using your system for that?
Well, our administrative load, as you might appreciate, is huge. What we have thought about, Lou, is, and we'll probably do this in 26, we may have a weekend marathon for everybody. Or I don't know if it's a weekend, we may have a month-long marathon. Just take a month, maybe month of April or the month of May, and have a mini marathon. We've thought about that. Now, within your club, you would have to control all that, but we have a tool, well, our submission tool. You can input, every one of your club members can input to that tool, and you know exactly what your numbers are. You know exactly what your entities are. Okay. I use Dave's AA6YQ DX Labs. Dave and Michael WA9PIE are who does Ham Radio Deluxe. They're both participants in DX Marathon, and they have written their logging software to support DX Marathon. So they generate internal reports right within their software, their logging programs. Okay. So, like I said, we can't do anything for a club. We just don't have the manpower, but you can do that within your club, certainly. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else got questions?
Just as an aside, our editor of our newsletter, Bob Barkley, put a little blurb in a couple of months ago, and that prompted us to reach out to you and have you come and speak to us. So the word is getting out there, and everyone here has heard about it through our newsletter. So we figured we'd have you in person, so to speak, or at least online, to get some information about it. It's very interesting.
Well, thank you. And I did read your bulletin. It's very well done. And I do appreciate that. Again, my biggest challenge is just raising the flag and getting the word out. Once a club ties into this, it's incredible. It really grows. And as I said, it is a huge tool to the leadership of the club to gather participation among members. And that, without that participation, there's clubs that are dying right now. I mean, I can sense it even when I do my presentations. You gotta have things for people to do that are fun. That spurns growth, and it keeps people coming back.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark. Fascinating presentation again.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time and wow.
Thank you all so much. And again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support of being a sponsor. That really is. As I said earlier, we don't exist without our sponsors. We would not have a program. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you again.
It's my bedtime, so you all have a good time. Good night, all. Good night.
Night.
A belated pledge?
Yeah.
Oh, a belated pledge? No pledge.
I guess we're calling something. Well, I know we're beginning to start, right?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, we'll do a round here. Can you guys on Zoom hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do a quick roundtable here. Bob, we'll start with the people on Zoom. Bob, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not there. I have bacterial pneumonia. And I spent much of last night in the hospital, an ER. But I think I'm turning the corner now. We couldn't figure out what it was, but last night, after a real temperature spike, they really did a lot of tests, and so thank Kaiser for that. Anyway, I'm on the cusp of my 200th LOTW verification. I just need one more. And Jim, if I was there tonight, I'd come to you with some cards to get card checking, but next month, I think before that, I'll have it. I've just been very reluctant to put out the money I need for some of these expeditions, but I guess I'm going to have to do that. So anyway, that's my report. Thank you.
It's worth it. If you want to come over to my house, that's fine too. We don't.
Okay, we can try that. Yep, good. Thank you.
Pretty close together.
Great, well, we hope you feel better and we'll see you next month at the
Yeah.
club meeting.
Yep.
Ed, how are things with you?
Hey, doing well. We finally got a break in the weather. It was 62 degrees today after having been down as low as -7 here in Missouri about a week and a half ago. So we're happy to see that. Just doing a lot of contesting, working some DX on some of the European type contests. And that's the gist of it. It was good to catch up with N6JOJ in the middle of a contest, believe it or not. The other day. So it was nice to hear him. Good to see you all, and my best to the club.
Great, thanks very much and Happy New Year to you. Lou, how are things with you? I guess you're up in Idaho?
Yeah, I'm up in Boise and not doing anything but VHF and UHF a little bit. But we're getting some snow now and got some snow on the way up. But good, I kind of go along with the speaker today. The conditions have been wonderful until I left about a week ago. Nothing more.
Great. Take care. Bill, N6RV, thanks for joining us and welcome to San Diego DX Club.
Hi, this is Phil, N6RV, treasurer for the now defunct Southern California DX Club. I guess to report, Dick Norton suggested this, so we're going to transition from a 501c7 organization to just an informal club like the Southern California Contest Club. And that's what I'm doing now, as well as going through the dissolution of the club. Really active on the air every day, have 129 entities work for the year. Yesterday, I worked like 57 entities. It was an amazing day yesterday. And geez, we have a group that we meet on Discord, DX Chat. And you guys you're welcome to join. It's a group. I don't know if you ever worked in the DX Discord server, Discord server. You can text each other, you can talk to each other, you can drop files, you can drop pictures and everything else in it. And if you go to our website, scdxc.org, and go to last month's newsletter, all the newsletters are available to anybody, and bring it up. I think it's on somewhere in the newsletter. There's instructions on how to join the DX Chat community there, and that's your guest speaker talked about people active. I think everybody about the top 10 people in that group on Club Log and from Southern California DS League at least were among the top leaders in Six Land for a DX Marathon. That's it. Having fun.
Great. Well, congratulations on that phenomenal over half of DXCC in a day. That's terrific. I just wanted to mention that anytime the Southern California DX Club members are welcome to join us, and it's real easy on Zoom, as you can see. We had a little bit of a technical glitch this afternoon. We couldn't find our wireless mic, so that's in the works. Will be fixed by next month, but anytime, and I'll send the information to you and Jim Shrine every month with the credentials, so that if they're interested. And I think in next month, if it's okay, we'll put a little blip about Discord Discord in our newsletter to get the word out about that.
Yeah, I didn't see the group mail from Jim. Jim usually mails the whole group about it. When you send out the invite, ping Jim and in the email and mention to him, could you send us to the distribution list? I think a lot of people would have been here tonight if had they known.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I sent it to Jim, and when I joined your Zoom a few weeks ago, I figured, well, he was going to send it out, but I guess it didn't quite make it, and I was a little late in getting it out. Well, thanks very much. Take care, and good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Miguel, long time no see. How are things with you?
All good here in East Tennessee. Very good. It's interesting. I actually spoke to Bill N6RV about 2 weeks ago. We actually chatted on the radio. So good to put eyes on you there, Bill. And I talked to Dennis as well on the radio. I think it was Friday. And he reminded me of the meeting. And I said, well, I got to get back on the horse. And so I set my alarm to remind me I was watching a movie. And that's why I looked like I was already in bed, just laying here on the sofa. So, but it's great to see everybody. Hi to all the friends. And I see Tom over there, my old mentor. So nice to see you there, Tom. Glad to see you still kicking. And Ed and everyone. So great to hear you guys and doing awesome here in East Tennessee. It's been cold, but right now the temperature outside is about 40 degrees. So it's kind of warming up this day. We're doing pretty good as well. So great to see everybody.
Great. Well, good to see you and hope to see you next month also. Let's see, is there anybody else on Zoom that I missed? No, I think we got all of the Zoom people. So let's go around the room here.
Yeah.
Oh, who
What
did I
about
miss?
Brian?
Oh, Brian. Brian, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Oh.
All right. Let's see, I guess personal thing first. I'm as most of you know, I've moved to we're in the process of moving to Texas, and all my radio gear is down, and except for what I've left up for my grandson, some UHF VHS stuff, because we're teaching him some ham stuff, getting him involved in that. But so I haven't been able to be active on the air. Other than UHF VHF stuff in the greater Dallas area there, because I'm south of Dallas by about 30 miles. And I have to tell you guys, they are not active on UHF VHF radio like San Diego is. I'm lucky if I can catch one or two persons in a week. And I used to catch one or two persons a day, just in getting my truck driving around, talking on the radio. So they're not as active up here in the Dallas, Fort Worth area as we are there in San Diego, just my observation. And I've got all the repeaters in and I'm scanning them, so it's not a case of missing stuff. Anyway, so that's what's going on with me. I'm currently sitting in a hotel room in Tucson. I'm on my way back to San Diego to get more of my radio gear, to get my tower. I'm going to be yanking my tower out to Texas there and hopefully get it up and get back on the air for some HF stuff. In the meantime, as soon as it stops freezing, because right now I don't have a radio room, as it were, so I've got a big shop out there, but it's not heated, and so I didn't want to leave my radio gear out in freezing weather. It's been freezing where we're at. We haven't any snow. Well, we had a little bit of snow, but it didn't stick on the ground. But when that snowstorm went through the south down there, it was below us, so it just got cold. We didn't have snow, we didn't have sleet, didn't have rain. It's raining there today, according to my wife. But anyway, so as soon as it gets to where it's not freezing at night, I'll put my radio stuff up in the shed, and I'm going to pull a end-fed halfway to start off with, because I've got one, and try to get back up somewhat active on the HF side of things. So that's what that update, because being the treasurer still, just so you all know, we have 73 listed active members for 2024. so far this year, 54 have renewed their dues. Now, a lot of those people have renewed like 1 or 2 years in the past for a couple of years. So, but right now, fully paid for 2025, there's 54 people. There's 18 that have not yet renewed their membership. Kind of in the same mode we were last year, about the same time. It'll whittle down probably to about 10 or 12. I don't know of any silent keys. So if anybody knows of any silent keys in the group, let us know. I think we'd know because we're pretty much spread out and would know that. Last year when I did this, we found some silent keys. So hopefully we won't have that this time. And then I'll send some letters out to those who are just not getting the information or somehow not receiving it via email. So if you haven't renewed and you're supposed to renew, go ahead and do it online. It's best to do it. PayPal's the best way to do it. But you can mail a check and everything. So anyway, so that's that. So 18 people. So we're doing real good that way. We're doing good financially. I don't have the dollar amount on me, but so far, just this month, we've taken in about $240 in dues. So or renewals. So that's good. That's good news. So other than that, I don't know, anybody have any questions for me as your treasurer? Nope. Okay. So I'll turn it back to, I think, Bud, you're running the meeting, or is Bob?
Actually, I'm Rob.
Rob, okay, Rob's there. I can't see you.
We'll have a safe trip back and forth, and we'll catch up with you soon. I've got an email I've got to send you about some items, so keep an eye out for that.
Okay, I did get one from you with like 4 items. So
yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, good. Well, thanks very much. We'll go around the room here. If we don't use the microphone, can you guys hear them in the room? Okay. Steve, why don't we start with you?
Okay.
This is a wired microphone.
I'm unhappy to say this is a bummer of a week. I waited 68 years to work Mount Athos, and I got them on 40 and 30, and then I didn't. Yeah. The expedition, because there's apparently a conflict between the authorities as to who has the final say about whether they can operate on Mount Athos. So we'll see about that. The second bummer is I'm 2 states away from 5-band WAS. And I worked a guy, ironically, who's a ARL section manager, Kilo 8 Tango Echo. And for whatever reason, he won't confirm the QSO. I've sent him letters, emails. I finally wound up sending him a priority mail, which I know he's got, but so it looks like I'm gonna have to try to find New Mexico and South Dakota on some other way. Anyway, that's all that's going on with me.
What band do you need?
Really bad.
No, what band?
Oh, 80, I'm sorry.
Mexico, you should.
There's not, there are not a lot of people apparently are hands in the whole state of New Mexico.
KY609, I've actually been to Mount Athos and operated under totally.
Why are we not surprised?
I rented I was on free ship, I rented Zodiac, and went in. Portable video. Worked it, was there until police came, got the hell out of there. So, I can't. Tom, 009, just go to the panel, you're open, start reloading to the station.
Yeah, Mike, KB60, no great excitement, but I talked to a fella in New Zealand. My son lives in Australia, and I'm talking, I have the Q show, 10 meters is on fire, out of the blue, the guy sounds like he's in my living room, I'm talking to this guy in New Zealand, and I said, yeah, my son lives in Australia, he lives on the Gold Coast there. I was, that's nowhere near here, mate. Well, it's closer than me. I just thought that was funny.
I'm ready, WA6W, and been a busy week. had a friend pass away, K6RYA, as a SK, that he was a ham for over 60 years. Yesterday in the Maine, AWRL sent in his certificate, says thank you for being a member for 60 years. They got us in and stuff like that. And a week ago, I got him for 40 years being a member of AWRL. And the one thing I had fun for Christmas though was Tango 32 TTT, which I guess is a Christmas Island expedition. I was able to work them on 8 bands. Pretty simple using FT8. And so same station on 8 different bands. That's about it.
When KS6LAT second meeting, finally got slowed down on the work. Actually started to put things together. Together the unfit halfway that we did the alcohol club, following them. You can check it out. Other than that, just coached and JLJ showed me how to work at the 8 a couple weeks ago. So
Just have it forward.
yeah.
Somebody get an application to him and somebody get 20 bucks from him. Okay.
I'll do it tonight.
All right.
Yeah, so the other application, thank you.
N6JLG. Every time I talk to Ed, he tells me how cold it is back there. I said, well, you left California, now you can't come back. Working on FTA, I work 20 different countries today. And that's between 10, 12, and 15. But nothing new. I'm still learning a few out there I need, and TV on here. Somebody got the Scarborough Reef, I need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Don, Terry, we have 6 people, nothing really to report.
Steve, K6RSH, haven't been doing much the last 3 weeks. I thought I was gonna have Panama on 6 meters. Thought I was, and then the band died. It's like that, and I haven't picked up any new countries. I've been trying to look and pick and choose, trying to find a country I haven't got. It's getting harder and harder.
That's good. Yeah, K6ZH and gentlemen, 6 p.m. We both found out, we'll see what happens. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. So, the presenter tonight mentioned that he's been ham for 62 years. I will have been a ham for 62 years and 2 months. Except you, of course, are way more than that. Anyway, so I said 81X on 40 CW a few days ago. That was a really nice one. And it was big signal right around sunset here. So that's South Sudan. And a good signal. And so I'm spotted on HRD, Ham-rated Broadway. So I turned over there, he was 1 call, boom. So no big pileups, he wasn't split. I don't know, surprised. And also, I just wanted to mention on the 13th of January, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was an extraordinary opening to ZLs on 6 meters. Anybody else catch that? ZL is not uncommon for us on 6 meters, but usually it's the same 4 guys. This time, at least I worked a dozen ZL. And 2 of them were new grid squares. And so I sent, and neither of them confirmed on LTW. So I sent emails to both of them. I said, so. And then so the response was something on the order, well, sort of a part-time ham. I tried to do LTW once, I can't figure it out, blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna send them QSL cards. Oh my God. But I mean, anytime I'm up to 650, well, 675 grids on 6 meters, I'd like to at least get to 700 before I die.
During 6CW, 68 years. Anyway, Ed, great to see you and run across you every once in a while in a contest and say hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Hear you.
What else? I did visit with, Hans, 86 XG, a couple days ago. And, trying to get him back on the air. I always thought of FTA as being where you finally end up when you can't hear anything else. But it turns out that actually you have to have vision to work FTA, and he doesn't.
Oh.
So he can't see the screen, he calls on the screen anymore. He can't actually operate FTA. I was thinking maybe of getting him a big screen.
70 inch.
He's trying to do the block thing, but he can't. He's kind of screwed as far as trying to work stuff. And also, he wanted me to mention, he has a lot. I don't know if any of you guys ever been to his place, but he has a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff is some big metal, lots of huge transformers, variacs that are this big around, stand this tall. Anyway, he's trying to get rid of some of this stuff. And he's got a million parts. And he just wanted me to mention that anybody needs anything, any parts or whatever, get a hold of him. And maybe he's got something in mind if he comes to. Now, on that note, I have about 1,000 coax connectors of every sort. So there's nothing for anybody to go out and buy coax connectors. If you need something, let me know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I have.
You can hand them out, Halloween.
As far as operating goes, I haven't really done any operating, but I've been off 40 for about a year because my vertical broke. One of the top hat elements fell off. And it moved the frequency up to 7,500.
Oh.
And so we got it down and got that repaired and back up again. So I'm at least I can get on full. I would have loved to get as any one that's why I did not forward.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
Totally dropped up.
My report.
Mark KI6 IT, I've been gone mostly since, I've been out of the country since July, so I'm getting back and setting up again. Rebuilding the antenna and live in the costume, it's not totally restricted, but it depends on your neighbors. I'm a professor at UCSD, and I told them I'm doing research, but you can enjoy your life, but you put up an antenna there. It's not working. That's it for now.
I'm Tom K7YMG, and thank God I finally got DXCC on CW.
Oh, yeah.
Remember what they were. But I do see on the spotting part of my keep seeing CW stations. I mean, I never used to see this at all, but now I'm seeing stuff outside the country that could have worked easily. And
What are you using for spotting?
well, I use XC log, and at the bottom it's spot windows that comes in through town. But it's pretty good, and you can filter it so you don't search for the right log. So that was a milestone. So I work at the XCC and all the bands I've been transmitting on 80 and 160 per gig. And 6 meters, I got 4 countries. But yeah, I did get on that set down thing on 4 or 5 guys. Actually, I should check and see if they have give us
Yeah, so anybody's a really active ham, they upload the LTW, but a lot of, we're kind of like, we don't even know where it is.
Yeah, well, I'm do it every day.
That's
I mean, program is great because as soon as they punch the button, they have 73 on the PA, puts it in the live and uploads. So that's about it.
Buddy, the 2 big ones for me in the last month anyway. Madagascar was active, and Nicobar. both of those being good old gray line specialists there. And I heard the South Sudan and reached out. So I was your arm wasn't long enough. Your arm wasn't long enough.
I got 40CW.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good job. Surprised.
But, and I think I got who's the guy that's got a real big DX position here, but Mark Cases.
Oh, yeah.
Got him once with CW, just had him over.
CX7A or something.
Yeah, DX. But I didn't really bother chasing them very much. I looked at the probability chart there on what. Yeah, something, it's like lit up right that you can't hardly not get it. But I just.
Anybody know the algorithm for TX versus TO versus these other things that are used to be or still are French possessions, but they don't use the FS or FM or whatever call signs anymore. They're using T something. The T, I think TX is Pacific and I think TO is Caribbean, but I'm not sure of that. Pretty sure. There must be, is there anything else? I don't understand why they do it, but I find it very French. Because I mean, I learned FK and FS and all those things, and then means why are you signing T on?
I did also like area today.
Oh, good.
But I'll bring you back. Every time I did, all the settings.
I had a lot of time just getting him outside man, and it took a while to figure out that somehow or another the split button got pushed.
Yeah.
It was well, 20 cases down.
You love the 7610 downstairs. That's all plug and play. It's got a screen. In the navigation.
He needs to clean out a whole bench off.
He eventually clean up. I've offered to come and help him do that and get him up and running. It'll take his son to cooperate. But he gets so excited to have visitors. And I made one contact site today. He likes to tune the radio. Some guy who so it would work. And I think we get this laptop on a big screen with his 7610, he'll be able to do it. And I think we'll do a keep the configuration system. Right now, people come in and they, what is it? Kids come in and say, like a laptop, for like a month or two. And he gets frustrated.
He tried to get you to take one of those variacs.
The big thing he's pushing right now, I think like got a 2 kilowatt, 110, 220 step up or step down transformer sitting there, weighing about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
But it's a beast, and it's deep. But if you got a shack, if you only got 110, 220 from the end. That's
Or if you're in desperate need for a doorstop.
more stuff, you'll need to sure one today.
No.
Try to pick up and move out of the way. It must be good.
Yeah.
He's got so much. He wants to give it away. The base shack.
Where did you live?
Grandma.
Oh, well,
Mount Street. All right. Mount Street.
Probably we free IHP on freeway from the XCC on 10 meters. I've worked 106, but I do have 3 more confirmed. So, and this cycle, I said, will probably be my last, so.
Yeah,
I gotta work now.
Jerry, W6KIN, no real excuse other than my wife decided that we were gonna go camping again. Again.
That's a valid excuse.
Anyhow, and I will have a wireless mic next meeting, so sorry about that, folks, but we will take care of that.
So, anyone have anything else? Old business, new business? Nothing. Monkey business? Good. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for coming. We'll see you next month.
All right.
Good night.
Sure, everybody say like.